Ish. We're just getting started, and this thing is like already tripping. It's bright. It's too bright, I guess. It's what is it? The 12th. It is Sunday the 12th of the first month of the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar, the bullshit calendar. So I woke up kind of like just a little bit in a funk. So, but regardless of what it is, that I feel like I'm disoriented or just lonely. I don't know. The joys of feminism, not the hell of feminism. You drink the Kool-Aid, you drank the Kool-Aid. What can I tell you? Getting older, by yourself. I mean, I'm not by myself, I know. My ancestors always guiding me, always here with me, one way or another. And of course, Tata, the Most High. The Almighty. But we're here. We are playing this game, right? We're supposed to participate fully. When I was a child, I couldn't participate. I wasn't feeling good. So I always stray away. A couple of months ago, I heard this presentation on the world's history. I'm not sure this is human history. I don't know what it is. It got African origins. Everything got stolen from the mystery schools. But it was so twisted. It was all about the interpreter to try to understand. And I heard there's some writings, one of them Greek philosophers, and we don't even know if they existed. I don't know, but I mean, we're seeing it every day. Like Bill Gates. You gotta go to a point that he don't seem to be right. Like that. Computer software, agriculture. He's the master of everything. Even medications. Because he was like, he's still pontifying about the next hot shot. Because he's white, because these kind of characters are white. They got white privilege. Nobody is asking them shit wherever they go. All they gotta have is dollars, and they got the machine to print the dollars, as much as they want. So it's crazy. The other one recently, I mean, I've seen him because he's into everything too. He's another Renaissance man, right? Once again, intercontinental. So, what made me believe that characters like Einstein, Napoleon, I mean, all of them, come on. How come these characters disappeared like that, I don't know what happened to like Margaret Thatcher. I think she quit. Like Angela Merkel. I mean, she was like everything. But of course, that's when you got your writers, you got your everything. The lighting person, you got makeup people, you got everything directing and giving you a script, and this is what you're going to be talking about. So it is great. Can you imagine if I had that? I'd be pontificating on everything, like like von der Leyen, whatever. Baerbock, Annalena. When they retire, they don't like to talk because they don't have all the peoples, like telling them, oh, this is happening. All you gotta do is you got your whole team. You have intelligence team, and you ask them, what's going on with this thing, like Ukraine or whatever. I said, we don't know what's going on. But I mean, stuff like, like in India, Pakistan, Imran Khan, they keep you updated. They tell you blah, blah, blah. And you get to trust them because you corroborate and you say like, shit, so you trust them. Or you don't. You're just like, A lot of times these characters are groomed from early childhood, and they're very good at reading teleprompters, following orders from the earpiece. Like Kamala Harris, she goes, "Hey, oh my God, oh you're here, those videos, like So I mean, this is what I'm talking about today. There's this Indian guy that did some research himself, but Muslim, has been able to, put another connection, make connections with the pieces that we got today. And let's listen to himself.
Wrong here. We can see those technology here. We can see there's these lights here and there's lights there. Now, the thing is, Anatoly Fomenko pointed out something that's very big. And do you know what he pointed out? That the majority of the coins in Northern Europe before the 17th century are in Arabic writing. We got a problem here now. We're talking Northern Europe, Sweden, Norway, Germany, Poland, Ukraine, Russia, and Russia's so big. Yeah. So we're talking about all of that. He points out they've got Arabic coins. Then the next thing he pointed out, another thing is, he said, let's go through all the swords and the artifacts before.
And it's true. They're keeping people obsessing with the architecture, or like antiquitech, the crackers call it, with all the technology, but they all on code. You see how all the whites on code when it's not something favorable to their narrative bullshit. All the currency he found, even in the 18th century, in the little peninsula, European peninsula, everything is in Arabic. So what they're telling us, I heard this before and I was like, okay, they gotta connect the dots, right? And I think you do, because Latin was weaponized. They found it, I don't know how, whatever, and the whites, the Europeans, in cahoots always with the Arabs. They decided to rewrite history through the use of the Latin language. And even when they call it, like, by the time I got to school, whatever, high school, even grade school, they were teaching us Latin roots, Greek and Latin roots. And there was always people up about Latin being the most amazing, blah, 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 blah. Funny history fact. The ancestors here in the Anahuac, especially the so-called Mexicas, I think that's what they call themselves, Mexicas, but the whites, call them Aztecs. They spoke Latin. I heard it in different sources, like. And you know how this is how it is, being in this journey, people drop bombs and they're like, well, they don't have anything, or sometimes it's just our own ancestors. Through our dreams, they come and talk to us and guide us. We know something, but we don't know. So here you have it. Here you have it. I heard it many times. How just the heresy, the heretics, what's it called, all the stuff that they used to supposedly, I don't know, I wasn't there, but they tell us they put you in the Inquisition, so, and there is people of the time talking about that. In the itty bitty tiny Iberic Peninsula, they still do the ceremony of the burning of the books in Arabic, but they was only translated from Arabic to Italian. You know, like famous people in their correspondence, they talk about it. You know how interesting it was that once the books in Arabic was translated to the Latin, there was not sacrilege. It was not. Oh my God, I forgot. It was not sinful to read them. So, and this has been, you know, revealed. This has been revealed, you know, quite a few times. Even Tariq Nasheed, the Hidden Colors series, I recommend you a lot. I don't know who's funding him. Like he's saying, you know, he's talking about the great Dr. Anatoly Fomenko and his university of more than 8,000 scientists in the Federation. And but you know, I mean, well, who's funding him? He's asking that question. Who's funding him? Well, the government of Russia, I assume, but it is a good question. It is a good question to answer.
17th century, because he showed they added on an estimated 1,000 years of fake history from the time of Jesus Christ, from Poland, Ukraine, Russia, and Russia's so big. Yeah, so we're talking about all of that. He points out they've got Arabic coins. Then the next thing he pointed out, another thing is he said, let's go through all the swords and the artifacts before the 17th century, because he showed they added on an estimated 1,000 years of fake history from the time of Jesus Christ, from the year zero to about 1000 AD. That could be 1100 years, 900 years. It depends, because they've messed around with it.
But
now
there was a good Fomenko.
And now to listen to the Europeans, you know, saying that the Muslim this, the Muslim that, and whatever, the Islam this, Islam that. I mean, yesterday, and it made perfect sense. It made perfect sense because I always, you know, I mean, everything we know, everything I know, everything I've seen, movies and stuff, of what's called the medieval bullshit. It was a period of you know, kind of like extremism. It was extreme piety, or whatever you call this word, extreme righteousness and whatnot. So, I mean, who the one who went crazy on the forbidding everything? The Muslims, the Arabs. Oops. I mean, that's the information I got.
19 thing I saw recently.
Yeah, I'll explain more about Fomenko later, because Fomenko is also under political pressure. He's not one guy. He had a team of over 1,000 people. So we're not talking about one person here. This was a big organization that mysteriously brought out the lies in history. That means that they are challenging the people in the world order. But who is it that supported Fomenko in this organization? Now, if you go through Wikipedia and other things, they accuse him of being a Russian nationalist. What sort of a Russian nationalist is going to be turning around and saying, hey, all the coins in Russia are in Arabic, or the majority? Right. Now, the next biggest thing, what he did was, he showed that before the 17th century, all the kings in Russia were basically Muslims. And he showed all their armory and their swords, not just them, but thousands of soldiers and everything. Like, for example, we've got museums in France, in Paris, in Germany, in Berlin, in New York. There's many museums. And the Moscow Kremlin Museum is probably in the top 20 most important museums around the world. And he went through that museum, and there's thousands of artifacts, and there's many other things. That museum and its linked departments and linked museums with it. And he went through all the swords, and he said, what's going on here? They've all got Arabic writing on, basically almost all of them. The swords, we're talking about normal soldiers, like imagine you and me joining the army, and we're decorating our swords with verses of the Quran. and things like that. Now we got a serious problem here
listening?
because we've got the history
Are
of
you
it. We're talking about
listening?
normal soldiers. Like
Idiots?
imagine you and me
You wanna
joining
be
the army,
lied to?
and we're
I don't like
decorating
making an
ourselves
ass of
with
myself.
verses of the Quran and things like that. Now we got a serious problem here because we've got the history of the Crusades and all the history of Europe, and we're talking about Russia. Yeah, ruled half of Europe, throughout history. So that means that the full history of Europe is a lie, and we cannot ignore that it was Arabic. But the silence, and I'm sure even after people hear this video and everything, there's going to be silence. Or there's something suspicious going on. It's because it seemed like saying the United States, imagine that they're going to tell us that in the United States everybody spoke Chinese in 500 years' time. And then somebody discovers and says, hey, in the 20th century, all the coins were in English. All the car number plates, all the papers, all the books were in English. And Anatoly Fomenko pointed out, hey, everything's in Arabic.
Everything.
And he says
Well, but
even
then-
the churches have the Quran.
Everything.
And do you
But
know what?
if you go to California
over.
though, right, and they're gonna let you take
Stop
your
the
driver's
bullshit.
license test in any language you want. You're gonna find forms in whatever language
It's
you
fine
ask
with the
them.
languages, yeah. In England, we've got they've got the Indian
Nice try.
alphabet in some places.
Nice
I'm not
try.
talking about some places. We're talking about the majority of the coins. The majority. Not only that, we're talking about all the military armor of the Russian army is in Arabic. We're not talking about California. We're not talking about Siberia here, or in the middle of Russia, in the middle of nowhere. We're talking about right in the heart of the Kremlin. All the king's crowns, all their military armor, everything is in Arabic.
And I know people like, I mean, if the whites got it, they stole it. The Arabic is an African language. That's why they're called Semites, because they are semi-white or semi-black, like semi-decaffeinated coffee. And speaking of coffee, we're all African. The whole planet is African, and I know that's old news, right? But I mean, I'm serious. I am serious. I mean, like, just like the coffee, right? You can put sugar, you can put like vanilla, whatever, cinnamon, cream, milk, whatever. It's still coffee. Still coffee. Look at my black eyes. It's all gray hairs. I look like, I don't know, like 5 shades lighter in this phone, because the phones, the cell phones, the phonies cannot, make phones, cameras, where we look the way we are. I don't look like this. I don't know if this is even gonna come out, all these wrinkles. I don't know. They gotta take your wrinkles out, because that's the feminist, the female supremacy, right? That they gotta cater to all women. No, we put elastic bands on everything. Everything elastic. You are the size you want to be. I mean, you go like, if you go to H&M and you go like, I don't even know if they carry now XL, extra large, but their extra large is like petite. It's like petite size, or I don't know. I think their extra large is normal. It's the way it's supposed to be. But if you go to Old Navy, whatever, or any other store, like that, XL is like triple X. I'm not talking about porn. It's like at least size 26. It's because that's part of the religion. That's part of the doctrine of being an American in the United States. Hedonism. Do not worry about nothing. And as a result, people have called Gen Z the glass generation. the generation made out of glass or something, like very fragile. Because, you know, every generation we're getting more and more pampered. Like my parents, baby boomers, I mean, they were seriously pampered. I mean, especially because they had access to real, like, stuff, you know, real, I hate that word, real as in royalty. No, I mean, you know, quality stuff that my parents, they still could find items that could inherit like 10, 15, 20 generations. In my generation is like, no, not so much, Generation X. And it's all garbage. It's all garbage. It's like, I always like saving my money because I don't like to buy twice. I only like to buy once. It's like, that's how, our family used to be, having everything being passed down generation after generation. Not, every 10 years a new dining room set, crap. No. So that's why that helped me also kind of like get curious about like, why is it that my generation, we cannot find what my grandmother or even my great grandmother, she left things that still around. I mean, it's not her husband, but that's how they're grooming us for a gynocracy. And I mean, a gynocracy, quote unquote, just the facade. I mean, it was interesting to learn about LA. They have a female mayor of Los Angeles, a female director or whatever of the fire department, a female everything. So it's like it seemed like it was a perfect storm. 3 months, all the insurance, not all the insurance, but some very important insurance companies kicked a lot of people out.
I'm not joking. I've seen half of this myself. It's not just flamenco. I've seen this myself. So that's why even I cannot believe it. Yeah, go ahead.
In the Crusades, though, you would have had a number of different groups, the Cathars, the Bogomils, groups that were.
His name is David Ewan. You can look at David Ewan, and he's got several theories on, not only Tartaria or, and I seen he got other stuff. I mean, I know who he was. And I mean, he got detractors. I mean, it's good to listen to those videos on YouTube. Listen them up. But it sounds mostly like, I mean, you probably don't know the whites. Even if you are white, a lot of times you don't even know yourself how programmed you are to dismiss anything that go against white supremacism. This is why I call it female supremacy, because that's another one. It's like we are walking on earth. We are like perfect, even if we are not women, born women or whatever. We still got it really good, because I see that supremacy, like not even questioning. I mean, like in Mexico, we have an Arab president. She just started her 6-year term. That's gonna be really awful. I see it already, because she already, declared war against the United slaves, basically. But she got everybody hypnotized under this gender theory, this gender supremacy. Scary.
We're not talking about California. We're not talking about Siberia here, or in the middle of Russia, in the middle of nowhere. We're talking about right in the heart of the Kremlin. All the king's crowns, all their military armor, everything is in Arabic. I'm not joking. I've seen half of this myself. It's not just flamenco. I've seen this myself. So that's why even I cannot believe it. Yeah, go ahead.
In the Crusades, though, you would have had a number of different.
The whites on code, they all seen it because they travel like a motherfucker. They're always traveling. They don't even need a passport. I've seen it, and and they keep quiet. They're on code, but we ain't because we're stupid.
Groups, the Cathars, the Bogomils, groups that were Alawites that were hiding Gnosticists that had, because Islam is essentially a Gnostic sect, right? It continues on the Gnostic tradition.
Yeah, now
the non-Paulician group.
What I've done, the way I've written my books, that you will notice that, especially in the book Skull and Bones, that you can open up any history book about the Cathars. Almost all of them are going to use the words like Gnostics, dualists, and all these other words.
But often to hide it Muslims, right? Because the Muslims were often just pretending to be a kind of Christian so that they could be...
But I'm going to make it simple for you now.
I mean, it is so similar as I hear this, the movies I have seen about the monks, about the from the 18th century, even like 15th century, whatever, 14th century. It's very, very strict. It's very strict. Everything, diet, everything, and praying all the time. It's like, it is true. It is true. It is just syncretism. It's a cover-up.
Especially in the book Skull and Bones, that you can open up any history book about the Cathars. Almost all of them are going to use the words like Gnostics, dualists, and all these other words.
But often to hide it Muslims, right? Because the Muslims were often just pretending to be a kind of Christian so that they could be...
But I'm going to make it simple for you now. Now, a major reason why history books are written in difficult words, like they use very difficult words like Gnostics, then somebody is going to have to open up the dictionary. The average person has never heard of the word Gnostics. Maybe you and I have done, so they've made it difficult. In my books, I've just put it down simply. The Cathars, they were burnt, they were killed, yes, and then the church wrote their history. And even what the church wrote down, yes, it's because so many different monks in different parts of Europe wrote it down. They couldn't hide the information because there was too much. They wrote down, these people denied the crucifixion, that's one. They denied that Christ was the Son of God, that's two. They accepted Jesus Christ as a man of God, and they accepted the Torah. It sounds like Muslims. They accepted that he's not the Son of God. They accepted he was just a normal man like a prophet. There's no difference between them and Muslims. What is the difference? There isn't. So now they're it's historians who've labeled them as Gnostics. Same like today, historians have separated what is going on in the rest of the world. Like they created the nation states, like the British were in Egypt, the British were in Iraq, Syria. They created the borders. They created the title Iraqi. They created the title Syrian. They created the title Kurdish. These titles didn't exist. Yes.
Listen, he is. I've listened a little bit about him talk. I can tell he is Eurocentric, but even with all him being a Negro peon, and like he like bowed down, like when the phone call started, he was like, yes, master, whatever, kind of like Candace Owens and all these rats. But he had to say it. He had to say it. That shit did not exist. And anybody who's a historian, you cannot go past 2-3 centuries back and you don't see none of these identities created. I'm gonna play it again.
They accepted the Torah. He sounds like Muslims. They accepted that he's not the Son of God. They accepted he was just a normal man like a prophet. There's no difference between them and Muslims. What is the difference? There isn't. So now it's historians who've labeled them as Gnostics. Same like today, historians have separated what is going on in the rest of the world. Like they created the nation states, like the British were in Egypt, the British were in Iraq, Syria. They created the borders. They created the title Iraqi. They created the title Syrian. They created the title Kurdish. These titles didn't exist. Yes, they didn't exist. So they created these things in the same way they've created Qatar. Yeah, they've created your title. Are you an American? Are you a Canadian? Are you was you born in America, or are you a Latino American? They put you in these categories, and they've created these titles. These men and the Cathars were simple humans, and then what they've wrote about them is saying they were devil worshippers, and they had two gods, blah blah blah. There's no evidence of anything like that at all. Now,
it's the Balkanization. So I mean, it's called after the Balkans, but it's been done way before that.
Now, I noticed that some people wrote something on YouTube, and they turned around and said, he's looking at their documents. Okay, now, if the world is turning around and saying, yes, all these Tartari groups and people doing research, many of them are hypocrisy, that they are turning around and saying history is a lie. We're going to look for history everywhere in the world, except within Islamic documents such as the Muslim Quran. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. It's because the Muslims were in Spain, right next door to the Cathars. Why can't we listen to what they've got to say about the Cathars?
Well, they've had lots of Christians. Lots of Christians were living in Islamic caliphate, and they would have often tried to be Muslim in order and say you're Muslim, so you don't have to pay taxes.
If they were Christians, then why did the Catholic Church have inquisitions? Because they were not Christians in the sense of modern Christianity. They were Christians that they accepted Jesus Christ as a normal man, not the Son of God. That's why they were living within Muslim Spain. And then there's the false history saying that the Arabs invaded and took over that place. It's ridiculous because Morocco's population wasn't high enough, even at that time, according to official history. Yeah, it just sounds ridiculous. Yeah. So
what about the Manichaeans also? Because the Manichaeans were across. There's Muslims, Christians, but the Manichaeans were even bigger. St. Augustine was a Manichaean before he converted.
Right.
How many of them?
Now the thing is, if we're going to look at St. Augustine and the Manichaeans, then that means we've accepted the official history and Tartaria didn't exist. Because
you think so? You think Mani doesn't? Oh, go ahead.
Mani and St. Augustine, they wrote just towards the end of the Roman Empire. So that is the false history that they've given us.
I mean, their stories have been burned, and everything that we know about them is told by Christian heretics like Tertullian. So we don't really know
even
that much about
what we know about.
We know there were groups of people that worshipped these people, right?
Now the thing is, there is a big thing. There's many people who are posting in Tartari groups saying, look at this old map, look at this old manuscript. Now what we do know, you can check this yourself, that the letter J was not used in most Western alphabets until the 19th century.
Right.
Most people didn't use it. And
that support that theory, which I don't think is a theory, putting an I or a J before of every year. And, the Latin mandate. Because I remember hearing about careers, people thinking about going to whatever profession, and they were still teaching them Latin roots, etymology, or whatever. No matter what, I got to listen to a lot of times, Catholic Mass in Latin. They couldn't have any excuse to it's an anniversary, it's a whatever, Latin Mass, secula seculorum, and all that bullshit. It is orchestrated over centuries. This is why they tell us every New Year's of the Gregorian calendar, do your resolutions, your New Year's resolutions. That's not how you plan. You gotta plan for the whole decade. You gotta plan ahead for the next 30 years, 40 years of your life as yourself, as your own immediate family, as the rest of the family. As how you can practice. That I was thinking the other day about marriage. How they totally just redefine what marriage is, and made it about love. And if I don't feel butterflies in my belly, then I cannot do it. Bitch, it's not about you. It's about humanity. It's about your family. It's about your children. It's about like, and now this bitch is like, I'm not an incubator. No, bitch, they already got incubators. You know, they don't need you at all, stupid bitch.
Manuscript. Now, what we do know, you can check this yourself, that the letter J was not used in most Western alphabets until the 19th century.
Right.
Most people didn't use it. And it was only introduced in the 16th century by the Vatican officials or groups within the Vatican. You know, their boys, you know, like Scaliger. So even, it seemed like when they introduced passports after World War I, even today half the world doesn't have a passport. Half the Afghans have never heard of a passport. They don't know what.
Yeah, talking about the Scaliger, that's who it is attributed, that commendation to add 1,000 years to the Gregorian calendar. And when they changed from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, it's like, oops, here we go, 1,000 years more. And they came out, you know, making up kings and queens. There was like a shortage of, you know, like whatever. So they grab all kinds of thugs and dress them, you know, like decent royals or whatever. And they said it's another Charles V. In every European colony, whatever, kingdom, they all got a Charles. First Charles. They got 5 Charles, up to 5, at least. So, and that's what Dr. Anatoly Fomenko did. He was about, proving scientifically and according to the positions of the stars, of the planets, of the seasons, everything. Because from now on, it's gonna become impossible to lie to people. I mean, I'm not saying that's not gonna happen because people are stupid, right? I mean, people don't like to inquire because they're so busy watching, you know, sitcoms or something. But it is right now. It should be impossible to deceive the masses because, you know, everything is like, and this is why it was forbidden. Astrology was forbidden because, you know, like it was going against everything the whites were saying because it was not aligned with the planets and the stars. You know, when they say, oh, this event happened in this such and such, and it's like, oh, okay. So especially now with the computers, like you go and ask the computer, where was this planet this day at this hour in this location? Where was they at? And they tell you, oh, they was over there. So bitch, you're lying.
One is, believe it or not, not half, but less than that. They don't know what one is. They don't know where to make one. You know, it's got. Yeah. So the thing is, when they introduced the letter J, most people weren't using it. So now we got a problem. All these so-called manuscripts that they're telling us are before the 16th century. How can they have the letter J inside it? That means they were written after the 16th century. Yeah.
Right, and it becomes really obvious.
You see?
Like the
I was looking,
pineapples in
of course, but I was looking at Josephus.
Pineapples
And
in
Josephus
Pompeii.
is
Josephus, yeah.
clearly revisionist
that,
text.
like 1,000
but the
years
thing
ago?
is, Josephus is quoting again Manetho,
Pineapples?
and the Manetho is also all burnt.
Okay.
And when you start finding what Josephus you have, there are these parts which are, if you go through the generality
Of course,
of
it was
his,
not 1,000
his
years
prose,
Yeah,
ago.
I read
prose.
I read his books when I was at, especially the Jewish War.
Right.
He wrote about that.
But there's all these,
myself.
all these weird insertions into the Jewish war stuff where it talks about Jesus in these really weird ways,
It was
which
not-
don't
Yes.
sound like the rest of the
It
text. It
was
sounds like
not-
Gnostic
it was
or
not a-
Yeah,
regular
it's not
monks.
just Jesus.
It sounds like
Yeah,
Jesuit
anybody
monks
who
rewrote
reads that.
Josephus, right?
Yeah.
So do you
Yeah, anybody
do you
who
think
reads it-
Josephus
You
would
see, they're
stuff?
talking about this
What?
thing.
Of course, but I was looking at
character.
Josephus.
That's what they
And
do.
Josephus is
Josephus, yeah.
clearly revisionist text. But the thing is, Josephus is quoting again Manetho, and the Manetho is also all burnt. And when you start finding what Josephus you have, there are these parts which are, if you go through the generality of his prose.
Yeah, I read his books when I was at, especially the Jewish War.
Right.
He wrote about that.
But there's all these weird insertions into the Jewish War stuff where it talks about Jesus in these really weird ways, which don't sound like the rest of the text. It sounds like Gnostic or regular monks. It sounds like Jesuit monks rewrote Josephus, right? So do you think Josephus was completely manipulated, or do you think it was completely created or just perverted?
Now the thing is this: anybody who looks at Fomenko's research will realize more than one person was involved.
Right.
Now, anybody who reads Josephus's books will realize they were not compiled by one person.
Absolutely.
More.
It was completely manipulated, or do you think it was completely created or just perverted?
Now the thing is this: anybody who looks at Fomenko's research will realize more than one person was involved.
Right.
Now, anybody who reads Josephus's books will realize they were not compiled by one person. More than 50 people were involved.
Yeah.
So Josephus as a person may not even exist. This is how much of a problem we have. So when you say there is insertions that people point out, the insertions especially about Jesus Christ. So we got to.
Yeah, we're talking about the guy Hawkins in a wheelchair. If you look him up and you look at when they put all the videos and the photos together, and people did not notice because back then there was, he lived through the internet era, but he started when there wasn't, so they had a different Steve Hawkins many times, and he supposedly knew everything, and he would dictate and know about everything, just like Albert Einstein, just like so many characters, fictional characters that the whites use as a weapon.
So this is the type of problem that we've got. Even anybody who reads Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I read them when I was age 14 or 15 when I first read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Yeah, you can easily tell. You don't have to be smart. You can tell that this was not written by one person. Many, many people were involved. And there's many different versions of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's because there were so many different monks in many different places. And what they had to do was write a copy of Matthew or Mark or Luke and John for the new.
Yeah, and all the monks, the first thing you had to do if you want to dedicate your life to their God, whatever, is Latin. And what was they doing? They had all these monasteries and everything, and they had them writing because that was the way to mortify the flesh, the way to purify the spirit, just by doing shit all the time. And there was like transcribing, making like if they had a photocopy machine, they'd become obsolete, but there wasn't. So all these monks and even nuns, I'm sure, because some of them, they probably was out of line or something, and they said, okay, transcribe this, transcribe that, and that's why the translations, that you can see it is always like different places, different names for different things. They got lost in translation.
And there's many different versions of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's because there were so many different monks in many different places. And what they had to do was write a copy of Matthew or Mark or Luke and John for the nearest village. That's why we've got thousands of manuscripts.
And we're 6 generations. But then we're 6 generations beyond that, because you've got 100 years after Jesus. Then you've got the Erasmus translations, and by the time it gets to Shakespeare,
that's if you're sticking to the official timeline.
Right.
But the strange thing is the Crusades didn't start until 1,000 years after the so-called official dating of Jesus Christ. Now that's impossible, because in many of these so-called medieval documents, which are realistically 16th, 17th century, many of these medieval documents say that the Crusades took place after the 10th century, because the people just woke up and found out that Jesus Christ had been murdered in the Middle East. But now if they did the Crusades 1,000 years after Jesus Christ died, I think the first Crusade was in 1095, I've forgotten the date, something like that. Now the strange thing is, How come they were asleep for 1,000 years? The Christians forgot that Jesus Christ suddenly got killed, and the first crusade happened 1,000 years later.
Right.
It's so strange. Don't you think that's strange? It seems like saying Donald Trump has just been assassinated, and all these Donald Trump supporters, 1,000 years later, they wake up and say, "Hey, Donald Trump's just been assassinated in Russia. Well, let's go and invade Russia." 1,000 years later,
we can look at our own contemporary history and see how this works. It takes a few generations to confuse and forget.
1,000 years?
Maybe years? No, probably more like 200 years or 195. I think is perfect. 95 after.
Yeah, there's another theory about how Jesus was in Europe, and it was just 500 years ago, because in the little European peninsula, you find thousands of paintings of Jesus, and he was black, and he was speaking Arab, and he's African. And I think that kind of makes sense. It makes sense to have the Crusades, because, Jesus got murdered over there. And let's go reclaim his heritage or whatever bullshit. But we know in reality, the Crusades started because the whites were starving. They were starving, and they was going there to rob, to steal whatever they could to eat.
Right, so that sounds about right.
But the first crusade is 1,000 years later.
Well, again, we know the J is supposed to mean in the year of our Lord, right? So it's really in the year of our Lord, 95. The whole flamenco thing even goes back from before flamenco.
Yeah,
people were saying this in the 1700s.
All these people who are pointing out all these coins that...
the whole flamenco thing even goes back from before flamenco.
Yeah,
people were saying this in the 1700s.
All these people who are pointing out all these coins that have the letter J, there is another problem with that, because the letter J was not introduced until after the 16th century.
Also, because J comes from an Arabic origin as well. I mean, it was probably used by other cultures that somehow made their way in through the Franks who were in Africa, and so that ties it back into that Alexandrian thing, that there could have been introductions of, these people went to Alexandria for school. Archimedes went to school in a place, and then he comes back with a letter.
Okay. Now we've got a serious problem with this. Okay. Yeah. The library in Alexandria, they can't prove it to exist. Okay. The so-called Greek libraries. In my book, Ancient Greece, I've shown evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. The biggest ancient Greek library was not Alexandria, according to historians. They say is the library of Celsus in the city of Ephesus, and they say that St. Paul was in Ephesus. Now the strangest thing is, anybody who looks at photographs of Ephesus city from 100 years ago and compares them today is going to think, oh my God, this place is a scam.
And it's interesting because in Latin America, F means F means F. And so I don't know, I get it could it be that Ephesus was about the letter F? Ephesus, the letter F? I don't know.
Can't find Ephesus or the library of Celsus. They've totally just built everything new, and they said there was a place called Celsus here, and the ancient Greek library was here. And then books from there got copied, and the copies were in Alexandria, people who copied.
But Celsus is in Turkey. So if they did this in the 19th century, these would have been pseudo-Turkologists and Tartarianists. Would that mean that they were trying to fabricate evidence?
Actually, it's not even them. That you can check through the full history of Ephesus. And you can start not just Ephesus, but looking at entire Middle Eastern and Mediterranean archaeology, and look through the archives of Gertrude Bell.
I mean, the letter in the Bible, Paul has a letter to the Ephesians. Is that not of Ephesus? Isn't that the group of Selçuk?
The letter F
in the Aegean region of
Turkey. Who said these letters are true anyway?
I completely question that, absolutely. But if that's the town that is in question, it's very interesting that the Bible talks about Ephesus.
But it's not just that St. Paul is supposed to have been.
Right.
He's supposed to be there.
You know why?
That's what they're telling us in history.
Yeah.
Why the letter F? La letra F. The letter F. It seems like very, I don't know. I gotta look it up.
Paul was there, and not only that, John, who wrote the Apocalypse, Yes, and who wrote, they say he wrote the book of John as well, that he was in an island just beside Ephesus, and that they're not sure, but he probably went to Ephesus. Yeah, and they're saying they're not sure if he went there or not, because now many people already know that Ephesus is a scam. Now, if there is no Ephesus, then there is no library in Alexandria.
Well, I don't know about that. So you're saying you don't think that in North Egypt, above Luxor, in the areas that we consider
so it got,
to be even older, Heliopolis, the ancient Alexandria. You're saying that region was never a center of information?
I'm going to make it very easy for you.
Okay.
I'm sending you Ephesus. Yes, where most of these Greek manuscripts originally were.
Right, Library of Celsus,
go back to the original. It's same like saying, when you're talking about ancient Egypt, because historians are saying Egypt is a different nation. So it's same like saying, hey, these books are American, but there was a library in Shanghai, and the Chinese had these Americana books. So now let's look at Ephesus City. I'm sending you the pictures so that you can share them, and so that people will have no doubt.
Right. Okay, so we're looking at a theater, Colosseum with,
yes.
It looks like a walk-in with poles,
they're saying that
pillars, and it's been demolished.
Or whoever built it. Yeah, and now I'm sending you
And it's built into the side of a mountain or a pyramid?
But I'm sending you photographs of the same place 100 years ago. There's no...
Oh wow, the book is called Ancient Greece by David Ewing. Is it David Ewing Jr.? I don't think so. No, he was saying that, Junior. I'm not that. He was saying 100 years ago, he got pictures of Ephesus, alleged Ephesus, whatever, and nothing really, just the ruins, very famous pictures. And then brand new. It's like a theme park, kind of like Disneyland. I don't know, I might do part two. I don't know. Oh my goodness. I get so tired of the whites. I know, and it's to see all these groupies every day, everywhere. I mean, not 100% no more. I mean, I gotta. This is where I come up with, my, reasoning. It's not what it used to be. It is not what it used to be. Thank God. Thank you, God. Oh my God, it used to be like. I mean, there's still a lot of clones, but it was like, especially the heat. They hit a chord with their, what I call the white boy magic, satanic magic. Think of the 70s. I mean, even before that. Yeah, even before that. Yeah, this is where, it's gotta be the orphan trains. The what's it called? The incubator babies. The baby farms. I'm seeing how it's starting to become. I hope not a household name. They got their boats trending. Baby farms. What are the crackers getting ready to reveal? I mean, it's a known fact. There's videos, there's pictures of the baby farms. You see all these ladies, just being pregnant. Just being pregnant, making money, boss bitches. Oh my gosh, it is crazy. But it's not what it used to be. I remember the 80s, and everybody looked identical. And I mean, over here in Mexico, which it was not. People had their own flavor, and then it was like, all the men with their crocodile t-shirt. I mean, not t-shirt, polo shirt. And the top sailors, the top siders, whatever. And we all have like shoulder pads, big camisolas, and baggy, what they call them, shit, I forgot the name of those pants, but very high up, very wide, like can touch this. What's his name? Bobby Brown's. And what was this other one? Those Arab pants. And everything, it is from Africa. Everything comes from Africa. And we call it Arab now. But it's not. It's not. It's theft. It is theft. There's no other way to call it. There's no other way to see it. And it's not working. It's not working because it's not even a whole theft. It's just bits and pieces, and the whites have no idea what they stole. They don't know what they got. They just see like whatever. But the only thing that resonates with their demonic self is those destructive spirits. Very controlling, very tricky. I mean, we all been told one way or another, even in the Bible, those effing demons, they lie, they deceive, they play tricks, just like that television series, I Love Jeannie. And she was so funny. She would turn him into a dog and would let him there until he begged for mercy. And that is the kind of living, that's the kind of life, I got soundtrack. Could just stop right there, like, it's so funny. Like, it's just like I'm not in, television. Television, they got this soundtrack, or like the music stop when they need a dramatic pause, so they can have everybody like the horses, look this way. Don't look this way. I had a chance to run into some dear person of my childhood. And I told him about this interview with one of the, like foreign relations dude. And I said, look him up on your phone. Look him up on your phone. Like, nothing. He put the whole, he was missing his mother's last name. Nothing came out. It's like, it's not the first time, but it's always like, it's so interesting how basic the algorithm is. It's just computer software. That's it. That person, probably, most likely, and according to what I was hearing from that person, did not care. He said, I'm happy this way, I don't want to change it. It's like the same, like the robots, right? Why do I have to learn about what's happening today when they can still want to live in limbo? They want to be there. And it's time for me to hang out. It's past the hour. And so, once again, I got to confirm it. I got to confirm it. It's just like we are a number in those software programs, and that number is changing every second according to what we are watching, what we are not watching, and the words they catch. Right now it's about catching what they're looking for and matching it, right? They got advertisers for whatever, sneakers, right? So if anybody, like I just did, I say that word, and the algorithm just go like match it with the sellers, right? It's a very primal, but this is how it works. This matrix where we at. It's like we just go like, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know if I want a husband. I guess but I can say it. I can say it, right? I'm not. That's saying it is like the third step. It's like the third step. Saying, I want a husband. I'm looking for a husband. And the algorithm is gonna go like, all these apps, all these, like, I don't even know what kind of tricks they got to take our money away, because there's no way you can find anybody online. But they have so much propaganda, and that even people they're lying for free. Say they met online. Something that was so embarrassing, just common sense. What are you gonna be looking online for? It's like, if you were a young woman, what the F you doing living by yourself? Why are you living by yourself? And then you're gonna complain that men don't take you serious, they don't even think about you for marriage or for, a serious relationship, because you live by yourself. That is the truth. It's common sense. It is common sense. It's not like, oh my God. And the first thing they go, you are like traditional bullshit, and that shit don't work no more. Because what? We have changed. No, we have not changed. We changed the outside, the phenotype, but not the genotype. You see how the devil never sleeps? And how many people are so stupid that don't like to even search and search and search? I'm not going to say it's research, because that's not what research is. But I search and search and search in different countries, different times. And of course, you got to skip the first 20 pages. You skip the 20 pages of the most, whatever they want. It's a propaganda. It's social engineering. Every time you search for something, they're guiding you. Come this way. Look at this way. Have you seen this? And this is another conspiracy theory. Until we implode and we said, it's like, oh, freedom is not for me. No, I am free. I am freedom. I am freedom. And I know the price of freedom. Malcolm X said it. And that's the only reason why I still have it in my vocabulary, in my dictionary. I still have the word freedom. And every day I open my eyes and say, I'm ready for the revolution. I am ready for the revolution. I'm ready for the revolution. Because I'm a revolutionary. It's nothing major, like they program the algorithms to sound the alarms every time it comes around, right? But thank God The algorithms are bullshit. The algorithms are garbage and they cannot catch everything. And that is the truth. That is the truth. They don't have the capacity. Trust me, if that was the case, we had martial law right now. We would have martial law. We had a dry run in South Korea. We had a dry run. We had an exercise, and we had exercises during the lockdowns, the scam-demic, academic, scam-demic. And so it's all about us, It's not about time. It is not about time because time is an illusion. Time is an optic illusion. It's like, I see it all the time. I'm trying to close this thing down, but somebody who did not go to school, I've seen it. We don't know what we are not capable of doing, because all of those things, they were told by the slave master. They told us what we can do and what we cannot do. It's not that we actually went and tried out and, it's not like my parents. They told me stuff, but and it don't really matter, because it's just like you got the mighty whitey, and automatically, oh my God, it's like they got so much prestige, so much like credibility. That's credibility, but it's. I am free. I am freedom. We are free. We are free. We are free. You are free. I am free. It's all hype. It's all hype. That's what they call it, the Matrix. Except over here, this ghetto trailer trash. Like, they're bluffing. They're bluffing. Like George W. said it. It's not about what we got. It's about what they think we got. Bluffing. I'm not saying it's not lethal. A psychopath is always going to be lethal. But it's not like doom. It's not like it's gotta be this way. It's already this way. That's how they're selling it. You see, this is their affirmations. How you do affirmations? In the present tense, you do affirmations. I am gorgeous. That was a joke. Okay, that was a joke. I am free. And it's not just an affirmation. It's not just a statement of the obvious. It is a fact. But we've been colonized. We've been indoctrinated so much that it's like the onion, right? It's the surface of the onion, and it's like a parakeet. It's like one of those parrots. They're like, just like number whatever. And even when they know it, they don't know it. They have become obsolete, right? Because right now we have technology to print a lot of the stuff. That's what we need to be doing. Make sure we got good ink and start making photocopies, print it out, hard copy. So it is necessary for us to remember things, but not like before, the scam before that, like, oh, you can regurgitate like, dates and places and names and blah, 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 and then what? You don't even know what you said because you have not even begun to internalize the context. Everything come with a context. Everything come with a context. It's not absolute. It's like this information. No. What is the context? And most importantly, where's Africa in that context? Without our father, Africa, we are nothing. It's all about the African continent. It's all about the Ankh, the key of life, right? We have the phallus, we have the uterus, and we have the product, Heru, spreading everywhere. And we got to save our African parents so they can save the whole world. It's best to go to the original. I know there's a lot of great things right here in the Anáhuac. I'm not being like, I know it's great stuff, and it's not either or. It's not an either or. It's not an either or. It's Africa first, our father, and then our mother. The Anáhuac and the Abya-Yala. And that's all also uniting, just like the African continent. They had to unite because every nation got a piece of the puzzle. And that's how you're going to put the puzzle together. And that's what the crackers, they're like racing. They're like running for us not to get another piece of the puzzle, put it in place, because they know it's a matter of, months, years before we recover our historic memories, until we just able to like access the Akasha records, until we internalize what oh my god, what is that science that I just heard about like 5 years ago? Epigenetics, the epigenetics, understanding that information. And most importantly, getting an Afrocentric ancestry testing, and that need to be safe, where nobody can access, decentralized or whatever. And I don't know. And this is why this is more than ever. It's important to get in the spirit of Malcolm, in the whirlwind of the most honorable Marcus Garvey, because that's the only way, right? Right now, it's the only way, because nobody can rescue nobody right now, but we can rescue ourselves. Put the oxygen mask first, and then we go. That is the way, the only way, by doing for ourselves. Garveyism, self-sufficient is the only way to self-determination, sustainable self-determination, not just like gonna vote. Unfortunately, like Ajiti, the empire of Ajiti, 25 years, because we let him down, because we was made believe, oh, I'm white because I'm pale. I am pale, my nose, I cannot breathe because it's so freaking nose, all things that don't even make sense. Why you want to have a narrow bridge? don't make any sense, you know. Why you wanna be with no lips? Remember the Planet of the Apes? You know, why you wanna be like, there's nothing good about whiteness. There's nothing good at all. But, you know, people wanna be white because they want the lower rates in their loans, interest, you know, like all these compounded interest and stuff. It's a lot less for the whites. So everybody, like, you know, I saw it when I was on Dykeman. I was like, I seen all these mothers with these, you know, mulattoes. I never saw the father. I never saw them with the father. It was like, because they don't even matter like that. Don't even matter. They're waiting over there in Puerto Plata with open legs, trying to get inseminated, and like, because they know, like, erasing themselves. They got no self-esteem. They don't want their own children to look like them. That's how stupid you are. Fuck you.